In case you missed the last episode, we announced that we're getting...
Welcome to The Woofy Show, the ultimate dog lover's digest. Meet your hosts, Brian and Magda, two dog lovers ready to help you be the best dog parent, unravel the mysteries of canine behavior, and keep you updated on the latest trends in the dog world. This podcast has something for everyone. Get ready for heartwarming stories, expert advice, and a lot of laughs.
A new dog and second puppy. So that's kind of what this episode is going to be about, is talking about littermate syndrome. And, you know, we thought this would be a good idea. We're not raising two puppies ourselves, but what is littermate syndrome and why I guess you shouldn't do it? So do you want to let them know what littermate syndrome is? Do you want me to tell them what littermate syndrome is?
Oh my gosh, you are putting me right in there. So a littermate syndrome is also referred to, it's also known as a littermate dependency syndrome. And it refers to the behaviors of raising two puppies together. So it's to do with what impact will it have if you have two puppies from the same litter living together under one roof.
So what if they're not from the same litter? Does that not still count if it's like you got two puppies, say they're a couple of months apart, but they're from different litters, different breeders? Does that like...
So there's an argument that the littermate syndrome can also manifest if the two dogs in your household are too close together age-wise.
Okay. So yeah, because the word littermate makes it sound like they were born together.
The definition of the littermate syndrome and where it came from, it was from the fact that sometimes people get two littermates,
get two puppies
from the same litter, and they're trying to raise them together.
Oh, okay.
However, since, you know, time has gone on, people realize that actually getting two puppies from different litters, but still very close to age, can also manifest in these unfavorable behaviors.
One of them is an unhealthy attachment towards each other, like the two puppies. So I think you're right. Having two puppies from different litters, they still can become like too attached to each other, even if they're not litter mates, quote unquote, kind of thing. So that is one of the behaviors. Yeah.
You have to think about it in a way that, like in a human way, if you have twins.
Okay.
I guess.
I don't know. If anyone's a twin out there. I mean, I knew twins growing up.
Twins can grow a really strong dependency on each other.
Yeah.
And very strong attachments.
That's true.
To the point that one can't do something without the other. They always do things together. They dress the same. They even go after the same people. They have the same friends. And it's kind of unhealthy.
That's true, yeah. And I mean, and I guess it's, you know, one of the other behaviors that can happen is the, not inability, but like struggling to bond with the humans, you as the dog parent, or other animals, other older animals, other older dogs or cats or whatever you have in your house. They struggle because, like you said, they depend so much on each other. They don't really need the human.
Anyone else,
they don't need the other dogs. They just have each other.
All good. Yeah.
So it's like being alone but not being alone. You know what I mean? Like,
So that's when the owners might really struggle to training them just in general to bring that focus onto the owner and like building that reinforcement that, hey, I am more important than anything else in this world, but actually you're not, because now when you have two puppies together, they just really
they're both
don't
more
need
excited. They're both, and I mean that can happen too with an older dog and a younger dog. The fact of the focus,
they're kind of like a reinforcement to each other.
And it's like amplified. It makes it even harder to get them to, and that's the thing. It's as a puppy and as you're bonding and as you're, you know, building that kind of connection, you do need to focus on it. You can't do both of them at the same time. You just can't. So you do need to separate them, but they might hate
Well, it's like they're going to just gang up together, right? Like, oh, hey, we are best buds and we're going to just do things our own way. And
so
whatever.
That's kind of another behavior, and which is aggression. It could cause aggression where they don't want to be separated, or, you know, you're doing something with one and now they're like, hey, don't forget about me. And they start getting a bit like, I don't know if we'll use the word jealous, or I don't know what you would just call that, but
I don't know. To me, it's like just mental instability, basically. If two dogs cannot live apart or be separated, that cannot be good.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why people are normalizing this behavior, being like, oh, this is cute. Like they just brother and sister or two sisters together and they have to be together.
Oh, the breeder or the whatever you get them from, I would love for you to take both of them unless they're reputable breeder, because now that's two they got rid of.
And you know what? The thing that annoys me the most is how breeders out there are completely okay with selling two puppies at the same time to one family.
We talked about the backyard breeder episode, and those type of breeders are the ones that are okay. It's because they don't care. It's just money. It's profit to them.
Yeah.
A reputable breeder will not let you get two puppies from the same litter, let alone let you have a puppy when your first dog is not old enough, as we talked about in a previous episode. It's crazy. And I guess, another behavior point, if we want to move on after the aggression, is separation anxiety. Which,
so we kind of touched
hard.
on that.
Yeah, like that's already hard to begin with one dog to like not cause that. But if you have two dogs, they're so used to being with each other that cool. Like you as the human could separate and leave and they'll be like, oh, whatever. They can entertain themselves. But if one of them ever goes somewhere, I don't want to, like I don't even know.
Yeah. It's like how you meant to train two dogs at the same time when those two dogs will probably have different styles of learning, different paces of learning and things like that. So how you meant to do that as a human and as a dog trainer or dog parent or whatever, how you meant to train them if you can't do it separately.
So it's funny you say that. So I'm listening to this audio book, listening to a book, and it has to do with raising puppies. And it's more specifically talking about service dogs. And one of the groups they had for the year were littermates. So it was 6 dogs, two from a litter, two from a litter, two from a litter. And it was crazy of how different 2 dogs from the same litter were. Yeah. Like how one was passing all the tests for a service dog with flying colors, and the other one is just like, I don't get this. I just want cuddles. Yeah. So you're right in the sense of
people don't understand that two dogs from the same litter are completely two individual beings, and they don't function the same. It doesn't mean that one dog that exceeds in this task. Yeah. And so the second one will also exceed in the same task the same way.
And that goes into another kind of behavior, well, not really behavior problem, but just a problem is the difficulty in training them. You have to separate them. How you train one doesn't mean you can train the other one that way. And that's a lot of trial and error and seeing what works. But most people are like, but then again, people that probably get 2 puppies from the same litter probably don't do like very intensive training. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Just based on like, the place you would get 2 puppies from the same litter, unless it's like an emergency kind of reason, you probably aren't doing any high-end training. Yeah.
Actually, a lot of dog trainers refuse to work with littermates.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just too hard. Like, if you cannot separate 2 dogs and train them, it is not going to work.
I mean, it's true. It's not even like group class. You go to a group class and it's different because the dogs don't know each other.
On a dog individually, you don't work on them together.
And so when
because they will not listen. They're not in that state of mind. Hey, I'm here to learn, and I'm going to pay attention to you as a human, and we're going to achieve this goal. It doesn't happen because they just get too distracted by each other.
They're here with their friend. Yeah. They're like, hey, I got my friend here. That means we're playing here. It doesn't matter. New environment, but because my playmate's here, we're going to just keep playing, Yeah.
And then you try to separate them, and they're still not in that state of mind and in that healthy kind of frame to be like, we're going to learn because they miss that littermate. They cannot be separated from them.
If you don't realize that and then you wait a year and then you try to separate them to do that training, it's almost like, well, not too late, but it just makes it even the longer you wait. Now, if you are in the situation where you do get 2 dogs in that same litter, again, for rescue reasons, safety reasons, emergency reasons, you got to start right away with just... They're like completely, let them just have their little bit of playtime, just like an older dog and a younger dog, but keep them separated more than they're together.
Yeah.
At least for like the first few months.
A lot of people make a mistake of putting them in the same crate and taking them out for walks together. And it's just like, why are you doing this? Actually, there's a lot of questions in a group about littermate syndrome that I see all the time. But one question was from someone who was looking into getting Two puppies from the same litter, and they were asking about pros and cons of doing that. So I'm like, well, this is great because that means you're not there yet.
Then they just dive in and then asking for help.
Let me tell you why not to do that.
There's not very many pros. There really isn't, I don't think.
I could think of just one, and it's not really an advantage of any sort. So the only advantage that I could think of back then when I was writing the reply to the question was that it will just look cute on Instagram.
I guess so. Yeah, you would get some really nice, cute reels of puppies playing too.
Yeah.
Everyone loves one puppy. People love two puppies even more. You know what I mean? Like,
puppies
I love that. That's the
10 puppies together is the cutest thing ever. And I could look at that all day.
Yeah.
And it makes my heart warm. Yeah. However, from like practical and realistic a stance, it's not going to work.
Well, yeah. And like to be honest, just to be honest, the likelihood of you or a dog owner succeeding in having the dogs trained to the level that you want them to with two puppies is very, very low. Like you have to, unless it's your full-time job, unless you're a dog trainer, you're a breeder, whatever, that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. That's the exception. Yeah. That's the exception, of course. But
a standard person, like you go to work, whoever,
we put a lot of effort into training Maple. So, and with our new puppy,
we are not so standard.
But that's what I mean. So even though we're not standard, I still couldn't imagine we're already like a bit worried about like, how are we going to train the puppy with Maple here, but make sure she gets attention and train them together so they don't get like, it's like we're thinking about all of this littermate syndrome, even though they're not littermates. The age gap is like 2.5 years, but it's things that
there's a lot of factors that kind of we thought about before getting a puppy of like, okay, we want to set up two dogs for success.
For success, that's a good point. There you go.
So these are the things that we need to do. However, it just doesn't happen that way a lot of the time.
And then so like if
it's not possible for a family or like you yourself as a single person that doesn't really have any experience with dogs or like training dogs and things like that to be able to have completely two separate lives for these two puppies. So taking them for walks separately, feeding them separately, having them crate trained separately. I cannot imagine, like it's so hard to take care of a puppy. To train a puppy, like the first couple months are incredibly hard. Trying to, do the potty training thing, taking them out every 15 minutes, it seems like, right? Just to get them used to the fact that, after food.
But then you add in your older dog that wants to come out every single time because they think they're missing out on something. So they have to be trained well enough that they can like stay in place or whatever and not, be in the way, I'll call it, kind of thing. And it's crazy, but do that times two.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, okay, cool. You can take them out both at the same time every single time, but now you're just adding to the littermate syndrome because you're doing everything together at the same time. Cool. You're going to train them both at the same time. You're going to go to classes at the same time. And you're just teaching them that they're always together.
Yeah.
It's just,
well, like imagine if one of them gets in trouble, gets injured.
Yeah.
And they have to go to the hospital, have a surgery to a vet. And they cannot be separated. The other dog is at home crying, whining, being a nightmare, not eating.
Yeah, exactly.
They're getting
like
themselves sick
Are they
as well.
trying to hurt themselves to get out of a crate because they just don't like
They don't know how to function without the other dog. Like, is this really something you want to be dealing with? Yeah. Probably not.
So I guess are we going to talk about like if you do get two puppies or whatever, here are some like things to look for.
I think we should. So
just because we're not saying never, ever, ever. Like if you are the perfect person and you know what you're getting into and you've watched this episode and you're like, doing research.
You know what? Littermate syndrome sounds great.
Yeah.
I want that in my life.
I want to prove these two wrong. You know what? Yeah. I've raised dogs for 40 years. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. But so I guess a thing that would help.
That would help not to get a littermate syndrome.
Or to make it a little bit easier on them
Yeah.
is getting a male and a female.
Yes.
Instead of 2 males, 2 females, because they mostly... Now, I'm saying this because this is what we heard. There's obviously people that will disagree. I've talked to people who will never, ever have a male dog, and they've only had female dogs.
Yeah.
I had people that are like, I will never have female dogs. I will only have male dogs. It doesn't matter. But it's just the whole, just like humans. Obviously,
Yeah.
a male and a female usually will get along easier.
I feel like the relationship is just less competitive.
Yeah.
Because of the genetics. Where, like, you look at human interactions, usually 2 sisters are a nightmare together.
Yeah.
They constantly argue
Yeah.
and borrow each other's clothes, etc., and
2
just
males will
hate
just
each other.
fight all the
and
time.
2 males have big
they'll
egos.
wrestle and fight.
Yeah.
But side note, if you are going to get a male or female, please spay or neuter or keep them separated. I know we're against like spaying and neutering too early, which is
and
fine.
that's
But
also
like,
a big thing,
please,
right?
please don't have 2 intact dogs unless you plan on
God.
breeding them. But still, you shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like that's the red flag about having a male and female, because the amount of posts. Oh, yeah, they had an accident. I wasn't watching them, and I didn't realize the dog. It makes me so angry.
Yeah, but
Be
also
responsible.
what makes me angry is spaying and neutering too early.
Yeah, so that was
it's
like this is more of just a side note. Just pay
watch
attention.
your dogs,
Yeah, watch
pay
your dogs.
attention, be proactive, and don't let your dogs get pregnant, okay?
So that's if you have both.
Especially when they're litter
I know,
mates,
yeah.
because that's just
That's
an
like-
inbreeding,
yeah, it is.
and it's gross.
So we can rant about that forever, but we'll move on to another kind of like thing that will help the littermate syndrome, and it's
Temperament.
yeah. So having one dog that is the kind of the boss or the more confident one, and then having another one that's a bit more like reserved or shy. So then they're not competing for dominance, power,
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
At least if like one of them tells off
And
the
do
other
you
one,
know
they're
what-
like, okay, I'm scared. You know.
Yeah. And the difficult part with that is that a lot of these breeders who decide to sell you the 2 dogs together, they probably are not educated enough about dog temperaments. So they will not be able to tell you, hey, this dog seems a little bit more on a confident side. They're really curious about things. This dog is a little bit shy.
Test. They don't do the test because they
Yeah.
get rid of them at 6 weeks or something.
Yeah. This dog seems a little bit on the timid side, so these 2 will probably go better together. It doesn't happen that way. Usually a person comes into someone's house or backyard or whatever, and they just be like, oh, hey, those 2 dogs look the cutest.
Yeah.
I want them.
Let me see how they look in the frame
Yeah.
with this filter on. Perfect. I'll take. I don't know if people actually do that. to
And
get
if
dogs.
you as a person, as like a responsible, dog owner,
Yeah.
you ask this breeder, hey, which one is the confident one? Which one is like on the
Well, they
shyest?
would guess.
Which one will go like well to? Yeah, they will look at you like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Where's my money?
Yeah, exactly. Pay me first and then I'll tell
Yeah.
you. But yeah, so I think that's a very
And
good
a lot
point,
of the time, the temperament as well doesn't really come out fully until the dogs are past like the puberty and the maturity stage,
well, and they
right?
can change. They can. And you have to
Exactly.
be ready for that. I mean, Maple was like that. I know it wasn't with littermate, but she was like the shyest, scaredest little dog ever.
Oh yeah, she was scared of the wind,
Yeah,
right?
she was just so quiet and scared,
But when
and
it
just
comes
and then
to-
now she's like the complete opposite. And
Yeah.
she's like head first through walls and get
Yeah.
out of my way. And
Yeah, when
you
it
know,
comes to like dog interactions, like Maple is the boss.
Yeah.
Like she is. She will set her boundaries with other dogs, and that wasn't very clear until she was an adult.
Yeah, about a year and a half or so actually.
yeah. You will not be able to tell
Yeah.
with those 2
So we're hoping
puppies.
the puppy is going to be on a little bit more reserved side. I mean, that's, to be honest, what we're
Yeah.
hoping for.
I
We
mean,
don't want.
Our breeder picked that puppy
Yeah.
for us.
And
She's
she knows,
aware of
our situation. Yeah,
so
we're not saying Maple's bad. Okay, Maple's the sweetest thing ever. So, and speaking of a well-behaved dog, I think that goes on to the next point of things to look out for. If you have an older dog or older dogs already, and you're getting 2 puppies, it's best if your older dog is well-trained, kind of
Yeah.
like a safe bet in the sense of they're well-trained,
They're
they're
like
well-behaved,
neutral.
they're neutral. They can act as like the not the boss.
Mediator.
That's the mediator. So like the puppies are playing too rough, they'll come in and be like, hey, stop. They're
Yeah.
biting too much. if you have a dog that's like getting angry and, going after, like that's a terrible idea.
Yeah. Like if you already have an older dog that's well balanced, they will be able to diffuse that bond between two littermates.
Don't rely on it though.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people
rely. It might not happen. So like, I
don't know if you just heard that. That was Maple. I think because we're being too loud. She's trying to have a nap. I don't think you can see her. I think she's too low on the floor for the wide angle. But
Maple just made like the biggest like groaning sound.
That was Maple. In case I don't know if the microphone picked that up. That was so funny. It literally just interrupted us. Well balanced dog. That's what I'm talking about.
It will help to diffuse that bond between two littermates. So it won't be as strong because those two dogs will have another dog to
like a neutral ground, another one they can play with. Or if like one, you're off working with one, the other two can be together, that kind of thing. Yeah. So you're right. That's a very, and sorry, just to kind of add on.
So this is why it's better if you are going to get two dogs close to age, even if they're not from the same litter, but you already have dogs. Yes. So let's say you have a dog that's 7 years old and then you have another dog that's 4 years old. And then you decide to get a puppy that's 2 months old or 3 months old. And then another puppy that's also close to that age gap, like 6 months, let's say. It's better that way. Like that littermate syndrome might not manifest as strongly because you already have other dogs in your house. So we do know people who have multiple dogs in their household and they decide to get like puppies quite close together.
Well, within like a year or something like that.
Which is still pretty close.
But then they have some that are like 12 years old.
Exactly. So there's that mix that kind of diffuses the situation and also experience with dogs.
Well, yeah.
So that also helps.
7 dogs
with
or 8,
with the littermate syndrome.
Yeah. Maybe not 9. That's a bit too many. But so that's good. And I forgot my train of thought. I was going to say, it was the older dog diffusing the situation. But don't rely on that. So many people will get 1 puppy, 2 puppies, and be like, "Oh, my older dog will just teach them everything."
They will deal with it,
no, because now they're going to bond more, and both of them or all 3 of them won't listen to you.
Yeah.
So that was just more about.
If you have such a blasé attitude towards getting dogs or raising dogs, then it's probably not a good idea for you to get 2 puppies from the same litter or very close together.
And then I guess kind of the last point, which I started talking about a little bit, but it was more of like, keep them separated, but let them have playtime. But that's it. Like raise them separately, feed them separately. Even if it's like a 30-minute window apart, don't feed them both at the exact same time.
This is why
don't train them at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's so hard to do as one person. Yeah. Or even as a family. Yeah. Like family has other things going on in their lives.
And you'll just take shortcuts and be like, that's fine this time. And then you're like, wow, that was so much easier.
But like, it's not fine this time because consistency, as we know, is the most important thing when training a dog. Yeah. So can you really be consistent and proactive with two dogs?
It's hard to be consistent with
separately? Do you know what I mean? Like some dog trainers actually say that when you first introduce a dog to the household, you should not let your older dog see the puppy for a week or 2.
Yeah.
Even that is hard.
Yeah. I mean, we would like to do that, but we can't.
It's not going to be possible. Maple will lose her mind being like, who's this thing in my house? I can smell it. I can hear it.
Yeah.
I gotta investigate.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's just not possible.
Because everyone wants the cute Instagram videos where the dog's in a box and they open it up and then... like as much as that's so nice.
We are so overthinking about the first interaction between 2 dogs because you only get one time that this can happen. The first impressions are very important and we want to set them up for success as always and make it the best experience possible so that, it can set them on the right path.
That's a very good point. So that's a little bit of what littermate syndrome is. Syndrome. Said that word so many times it doesn't sound normal anymore. Littermate syndrome.
Littermate dependency.
Dependency. I haven't said that word as much. But But it's good to know. A lot of people don't know. If you are getting a dog from a breeder, backyard breeder, you might not know. And they're trying to sell you 2 puppies. I hope this educated you enough that you're like, wait, maybe not. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
I just want 1 because I just want to get rid of them faster.
Personally, yeah, I would never, ever, ever recommend getting 2 dogs.
No, just don't. Again, unless it's like emergency, they're going to get put down if someone doesn't take them, which is probably a lie. To be honest, if somebody said that to you.
Maybe just get 2 dogs
and then find
a
home for the
to rehome the other puppy, right?
So yeah, that's a bit. Do you have anything else to add about littermate syndrome? I mean, it probably goes a lot more in depth. We just want this just to be a little bit of an overview,
short and sweet, and so people can just understand how hard it is to raise 2 dogs and how much it impacts their behavior.
Yeah.
So,
especially if you haven't had a dog before. I think people that haven't had a dog are more likely to get 2 because they don't realize how hard 1 is yet. If you have 1, you'd be silly to get 2 after that because you should realize, wait a second.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even want puppies anymore because they're like going through raising a puppy. It was a nightmare. I'd rather
There's
just
a lot
adopt.
of people that choose to adopt an older dog rather than getting
just
a puppy.
So they don't have to deal with the puppy stuff. I think we'll be okay, but I think we're like underestimating how hard it was. I think we're in for a rude awakening. Well, by the time this episode's out, actually, we will have that puppy. So
we'll be here crying.
Yeah, so
the next episode you see us, we'll be like, I'm so tired.
The next few will be recorded before the puppy arrives because obviously we won't have as much time. So if you're like, I thought you guys said you're getting a puppy. Why are they not appearing in the videos? As of the recording of this day, we still don't have it because we're trying to get a little bit ahead of ourselves so we can focus on the puppy.
Yeah.
So
bonding time.
Yeah. So that's all. Hopefully you learned something. If you had 2 puppies and you had to deal with littermate syndrome, let us know what that was like.
Yeah, let us know your experience of
if it's very interesting, we can share the story as well. That's it. So we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye for now.